Hello, I'm Dietra Kelsey, and welcome to the first episode of Dietra Kelsey TV. Some of you know me from being the host of Sister Talk TV show. Well, Dietra Kelsey TV are projects that I am developing or showcasing. This show is about people that have been impacted by gang and gang violence. My guest is Marion Frampton, one of the leaders of the Black Spades. Marion.
Hi.
The Black Spades Group, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you for coming this evening to Dietra Kelsey TV. First of all, I just want to ask you, tell us about what the Black Spade Group is all about.
Well, the Black Spades was an organization, and I won't use the word gang at first, because the Black Spades, when it came into existence, you understand, it came into it as a community-based group working in the projects in the Soundview area of the Bronx. And the founding fathers of the Black Spades were members of the Black Panthers and the Nation of Islam. And at that time, you understand, in the late '60s, there was a lot of drugs and and living up in the Soundview area. There was fighting the white gangs. There was a lot going on. So they came together just to protect the neighborhood. But and it wasn't called a Black Spade, they were called a Social Seven. And
the Social Seven?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And from there, when the leadership changed over, it changed over to the Black Spades and the police department and a lot of white gangs. When you see a bunch of brothers together, they calling you Goonies and blacks and spades and this and that. And this is how it evolved, you understand, it just grew and it grew and it grew.
How many members did it grow to?
Well, in the Bronx alone, there was over 5,000.
5,000.
5,000 members in the Bronx alone.
So what was the purpose of forming this group, the Social Seven, and then the Black Spades Group? What was the purpose of that?
Well, the purpose, like I said, they was there when they first came together. They was protecting their neighborhoods.
Protecting their neighborhoods.
Keeping the drugs out of the neighborhood, keeping the crime out, and they did very good. And as our elders moved on, and new people moved in and took over, and they changed the name to the Black Spades, and it seems like it was a name that fit us because the white boys and the police department at that time was calling us blacks and spades and this and that. So we took on the name Black Spades, and the numbers grew.
Right.
It attracted the brothers, you understand? That just to name the word black and the spade attracted a lot of brothers to it.
So it was really positive.
In the beginning, it was positive.
I called you earlier because I was looking for the Black Spade Group. I kept appearing gang, and that was a whole different connotation. That was a negative. So I had to call you up to be clear what was the Black Spades all about. And it seemed that it turned into the Black Spade gang. Was it the Black Savage gang at one time?
The name changed to the Black Spades. The gang part came from as the numbers grew, and back in the days, the police department was basically all white, and they was calling us a bunch of savages and goonies and spades. And look at those gangs, and when you get more than 3 people traveling together, that's a gang, a group, a gang. They don't say a group, they say gang. And then as other different organizations started to arise, Skulls, Nomads, Reapers, Javelins, and everybody started fighting for territory. And then when the fighting started, we started fighting each other, then they really started calling us a bunch of gangs, niggas and spits. But the concept of the Spades was not to be a gang, but a community base in the Soundview houses up in the Bronx was to protect their neighborhood. That's what this was all created from.
Then it turned to something else. I find that so interesting because I believe that conception, when the baby is born, they come out good. It comes out with love. And my next question to you, since you are really involved with, I feel, eradicating negative gang members and all that stuff, how does a person get into the gang?
Well, back when I was coming up, I was drafted we lived in a neighborhood, and you know, we all lived in a neighborhood. My mother, I was more afraid of my mother, you know, so I used to run every day, and everybody in the neighborhood was becoming part of it, and they liked it. And so one day they caught me. I ain't had no choice. I became involved. As I became involved, and I used to talk to my mother, I said, Mom, we doing this, we doing that to protect the neighborhood. You know, and it was good. But then, like I said, as the Bronx grew in different gang, I don't like that word gang. I stick with organizations because a lot of the brothers and sisters that started the Bloods, the Crips, the Nation of Islam, no, they wasn't, you know, even Nation of Islam was considered a gang by the police department.
Right.
These were not gangs. These were brothers and sisters coming together, you understand, to do positive. Now, how it fell apart, I can't tell you the root. I know as time went on, these different organizations started fighting for territory because it started growing and growing. We had to fight to maintain. I come out of the Mott Haven section of the Bronx. We had to fight to maintain our section because if we didn't, then other groups, we had Bachelors, we had Skulls, we had Nomads.
So y'all really had to fight.
We had to fight to maintain our living space. Because if we didn't, they would have took over. So, you know, and this is how basically a lot of the gangs in the Bronx, they fought to maintain their space and their reputation. The Spades grew and grew and grew, and we became one mighty force. And not only in the Bronx, throughout the boroughs, you understand, upstate, you understand, doing it in the South. And we became a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, what are you doing now?
Well, right now we host public safety dinners throughout the Bronx. For the last year and a half, almost 2 years, not year and a half, almost 2 years, we go around to different communities where we bring politicians, clergy, community, and police department. And one of the reasons why we bring all these people together under one roof and we provide dinners, we pay for the dinners ourselves.
Y'all pay for them
yourself? We don't have nobody do nothing but just bring people in. We pay for the dinners because my mother always taught us, man, a family that eat together and pray together will stay together.
I heard that.
So we provide these dinners where we bring them in, and we try to get the stigma of the community or to see the police on a different light. The police has always been negative, and not all. And now, like I said, with social media, with the killing of black folks all around the world and all around America, you understand, by police, our kids are really seeing. See, when we grew up, we only see what happened in front of us. But now we see what happens in the world. And our children are more stubborn and more prone to react than listen today. And they challenging the police. And we try to bring them together so that they can see, so we can let the police department know all black folks are not criminal, and we want the community to see that all police are not bad. So we've been hosting these dinners, and we've been having huge success. And on July 12th, which is next Friday, we're going to launch our community public safety partnership dinner, where we're launching what we do, where we're having people from the mayor's office, the governor's office, the borough Bronx president, and you understand, all these people are coming out because we've been doing this work. We have success. We have kids. We've gotten kids back in school. We've gotten a few jobs, but my thing is just not a few. What about the massive? You know, and it's like, you know, I'm glad they are erasing the arrest with the marijuana because of all of these little minor things that's held black people. I'm not going to say people of color. I'm going to say black people. And the only thing difference between me and some of us is language and the religion. But we're all black. And these little minor crimes and misdemeanors that they're getting rid of is good because it's holding our kids back. Now we got to improve because I'm a real critic of our clergy. Mind you, I'm getting ready to get my master's in theology. In theology, you understand? And I believe that we do need something to believe in other than ourselves. But I'm a real critic of clergy because the clergy is failing us. Our clergy no longer is on they should be our first line of defense. I was raised in a church. And not all clergies are the same. Right now I deal with a lot of ministers from the Muslims, you understand? Rabbis. I go to their events. I'm just an all-around person. And we're just trying to make connections. But we got to bring our people back to the forefront.
I want to ask you about this. What's happening with us, Black people, is affecting our children, period. So I want to get to your son. Okay. Can you tell us just a little bit about your son? I'll let you.
My son? Well, you know what, though? My son just did. His name is Marion Frampton. I call him TJ Tiny Jr. He's the best thing that ever happened to me in my whole life. I love my wife and all that, but he's the best thing that ever happened to me. But I failed my child. I didn't realize it until my son got 30 years. My son got 30 years because he wanted to be like his father. And see, this is something that we try to teach the brothers on the street. You got to look at your children, because whether you know it or not, you are the light, the guiding light, and the shining light in the eyes of your daughters and your sons. And whether you know it or not, they want to be like you.
How were you?
I was a gangbanger. I was a drug seller. I was out there.
After the Black Spades Group.
After the Black Spades. Well, I was a gangbanger in the Black Spades. Then after that, you know, I was headed to Casanovas, where we did the security for hip hop. But
that's what I'm trying to figure out, Marion. How does one get into that? Well, I'm trying to get into that psyche. I really, you know.
There's all different reasons of why we go to the street. I know when my mother died in 1980, she left me 6 kids, and it was hard. And yes, I've always had education. She made me stay in school, okay? You know, I just got my bachelor's degree in 2015. But when you're a grown man raising families and kids, you sometimes are forced in positions that you don't want to be in. I'm not talking about children. I'm talking about grown adults. We may do things that we would never do, take on certain jobs or do certain things on the street.
Right.
And there was food that had to be on the table.
Right.
You know, and my brothers and sisters watch me.
And my son
watched me.
And he wanted to aspire to be like you.
But I put a sister through college.
Right. Okay,
and I helped my other kids. I helped my other sisters, and I raised my son. But not knowing that I really destroyed my son, because my son seen me as the light of all lights, and he wanted to be like his father.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I really do. And
it cost him 30 years. 30 years in prison trying to be like my father. He's home now. He did 19, he's home. My son was teaching black studies in the prisons. He's now going to Baruch College. He's writing plays. Jail saved his life, but I would have rather have him on the street.
Right.
But you know what though? That's why I believe that there's a God, because God did everything that he needed to do to keep me alive and to keep my son alive, even though it took us to places that we didn't want to be. You know, at 63 years old, most of my friends are dead, but I'm still alive. And a lot of times I say, why me and not them? You know, and my son, when he came home, he said, Dad, I don't hate nothing, because if I didn't go to jail, maybe I'd have been dead trying to be like you. So, but now, he says, I want to be more like you today, because the light that I do today. So it's like we lived in the dark, but now we're living in the light.
Right.
And I am so proud that my son today still wants to be like me, but in the light.
Thank you. Thank you, Marion. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing your story. My project that I am working on right now is my gospel musical, Whose Side Are You On?, about gang and gun violence. What I am doing now is part of a series of featuring people who have been impacted by gang and gun violence. Please donate at GoFundMe/Whose Side Are You On to help make the gospel musical a reality. There you will find additional information. I'm Dietra Kelsey, and as always, I'm wishing you peace, love, and remember to stay in the light.